That is fine with me.
Great. Welcome, everybody. We'll start with introductions, and I will call each voting member to introduce themselves, and then I'll turn it over to Brian, and he will go to the staff and everyone else. I'm Dale Stein, Chair. Dave?
Dave Bratz, Vice Chair, voting member.
Erica?
Erica Goodman, voting member.
Darren?
Darren Hickling, voting member.
Brian, turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to do the advisory member roll call, starting with Ag and Markets.
Morning, Brian. This is Tim. I'm here.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Andy.
All right. CDEA.
You get me. It's Chastity Miller, past, soon to be past president for CDEA. Dustin has another call today.
Oh, thank you, Chaz. Welcome. And Caitlin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Caitlin Stewart, Vice President, New York State Conservation District Employees Association.
Welcome, Caitlin. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
DEC, who's on from DEC?
Sarah Latessa, Division of Water, DEC.
Hi, Sarah. Okay, DOH.
Paul Kaczmarzyk, DOH.
Hey, Paul,
Morgan.
how are you?
Sorry about that. Morgan Tarbell, DOH.
Hi, Morgan. Welcome.
Hello.
Department of State.
This is Stephanie Wojtowicz, Department of State, Office of Planning and Development.
Hi, Stephanie. Cornell Cal.
Good morning. This is Brian Rom.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey there.
Cornell Cooperative Extension. SUNY ESF. NRCS.
Good morning, Brian. Blake Glover, Nrcs.
Good morning, Blake. Is anybody from NYACD on the phone?
Yeah, Scott, I'm on. Scott Ryan.
Hey, Scott. How are you, Scott? Welcome.
Good.
All right, and we'll do a quick staff roll call. I know Victor is not on with us. PJ. PJ on the line? Ryan Cunningham. Ron Bush. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Good morning, Brendan. I was starting to think you guys all had a staff meeting without telling me today. I was getting nervous. How are you? Greg Albrecht.
Good morning, everybody. Greg Albrecht, State Committee.
Good morning, Greg. Scott Pickton. Jennifer Clifford.
Good morning. Jennifer Clifford, CRF Program Manager.
Good morning, Jennifer. Ben Luskin.
Good morning. Ben Luskin, Region 5 AAA for the State Committee.
Good morning, Ben. Bethany Bizdew.
Morning, everybody. This is Bethany Bizdew. I'm the Ag Non-Point Source Program Manager.
Good morning, Bethany. Jason Kokinos.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Jason. I'm the data analyst.
Good morning, Jason. Tim Clark.
Good morning. I'm Tim Clark. I'm the engineer for the State Committee.
Good morning, Tim. Lauren Prozorski.
Good morning, Lauren Prozorski, EBM Program Manager.
Good morning, Lauren. All right. Did I miss anybody from the advisory members or staff?
This is Julie Berlinski, New York State DEC. I just joined a little late.
Oh, hi, Julie. How are you?
This is Asim Kumar from New York State DEC. I just joined a couple of minutes ago.
All right. Welcome, Julie and Asim. Okay, Dale, back to you.
Thanks, Brian. We'll review and approve minutes. Additions and corrections, please.
Dale, there were a few corrections that I made to the participant list. Thank you, those who noticed those errors and let me know. So mainly with board members and their affiliation.
Excellent.
If I could interrupt, I am John White. I'm from Livingston County Soil and Water District, actually the chairman, and I'm just observing the meeting today.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll do roll call for a vote. Darren? Dave?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Approved. Correspondence, Brian?
Yes, thank you. Just a reminder to please go ahead and put your phone on mute. Appreciate that very much. Okay, so before going into correspondence, I just want to give a quick budget update. April 1st is rapidly approaching here. Both the Assembly and the Senate put out their one-house bills and EPF. The Assembly bill considered additional federal funding and increased the EPF to $400 million, and many of the line items also increased accordingly. The Senate's one-house bill was the $300 million, more closely aligned with the executive budget proposal. I'm not going to go into the line items of each of those one-house bills as they are working together to put out one EPF. So just wanted to remind everybody that April 1st, we should have a budget there around, and I will put out a notice to the state committee districts when that happens. Okay, and for correspondence today, I do want to bring an item to the committee's attention. It's related to a proposed change to the cover crop 340 standard through USDA Nrcs, and they are updating many standards, minor updates and edits to most, but there is a potentially significant change to the cover crop standard, which would no longer allow for the mechanical harvest of cover crops as a forage crop. I'm going to ask Greg Albrecht to describe this a little bit more to the committee, and I'll be looking for a motion from the committee following Greg's discussion here for us to provide written comments to the Federal Register. So Greg, do you want to put a little bit more detail behind that?
Yep, Brian, yeah, thank you very much. And thanks, Dale, and the other voting members. And I welcome any folks from NRCS, Blake, and if Paula join later on, and others to layer in at any time, please interrupt. But Dale Gates and Val Podalik, Mary Kerstetter alerted us a week or so ago that there's a new slate of NRCS national level that's really important to underscore conservation practice standards up for public review. And if I can do two things at once, I'll post the links to these in the chat for folks. And one of them is the conservation practice standard for number 340, and that's for cover crops. And that's readily used by soil and water districts and farmers and NRCS every year. And it, like Brian said, has a new clause in it that's different from any other cover crop standard that we've seen, version that we've seen, that prohibits the mechanical harvest of cover crops for forage. And that strikes us as taking a step backwards and taking us in the wrong direction in our pursuits of, the multiple benefits that come from having a living root and a crop going. Excellent. Thank you, Chaz. Very good. Chaz just posted the link in the chat. All the benefits that come from cover crops, and anything when we've got many more months of a year with cover and a living root, and the benefits that come from that, whether it's nutrient management, soil health, greenhouse gas mitigation, carbon sequestration, all those items. When we started more concertedly talking about cover crops, Bethany, I think it was around 19 or so, with our first soil health program policy. The example of winter forage crops, where you grow a cover crop after your main season crop is harvested in the fall, bring it through, harvest it for forage, and then plant back into your main season crop, part of the rotation in the spring, was actually one of the examples we brought forward as sort of a next step cover crop. The other one, of course, is more diverse mixes that we talked about in terms of supporting farmers' efforts in trying them for at least 3 years, honing their management of it so it's most efficient and effective for them, with the goal of after participating in our cost share programs, realizing the value of them and adopting them entirely on their own budget. So we've been thinking about this for years, and partners certainly have. Tom Kilser from Cornell, now retired extension, the Cornell Nutrient Management Spear Program, Jerry Turney, and so on, have championed examples and guidelines. The primary one is following triticale after corn silage harvest, and then harvesting it in the spring for forage and going right back into corn silage, for instance. And feel like that should be maintained as a option for farmers interested in going, especially from a condition where there's no growing crop during the winter, to one where we've got a growing plant in the wintertime. We've been Dale Gates identified this and sent it out to the partners, and we've shared it with the soil and water districts and the certified crop advisors and the AIM certified planner listservs. And he made a really salient point here of, the idea of prohibiting or limiting the harvest is really better placed in a particular program's policy and not in a technical standard. If there is a priority of a certain program that says, hey, this needs to focus on a certain type of management, that's a great place to make those limits, not in a technical standard that is used not only by the agency that develops them, Nrcs, but many partner entities as well. So one last comment I should have said up front is this is the process for updating Nrcs standards occurs on roughly a 5-year cycle, and it starts as a national standard, and there's public review and comment, and then they take those comments and finalize the national standard. And then those national standards go to each of the states where they run a similar process, where they would modify it for the specific conditions of that state, put it out for review, and finalize it for use in that state. The one important issue with this particular change is that a state can only make a finalized national standard more restrictive or more conservative than the national standard. So if the prohibition of mechanical harvest of cover crop remained in the cover crop standard here, all of the states would then have that as a requirement of the standard. And like I said, that would be, strikes many of us as taking a step backward in our tools for improved management.
Brian had brought this up to me, and we definitely believe we have to supply comments to NRCS about it, because in my farm alone, we have 2 neighboring crop farms where we do this with them. They grow a cover crop and we pay and harvest it in the spring. And we see a lot of corn, soybean, wheat harvest crop farms around that don't use cover crops. But if they work in partnership with dairy farms nearby, they could use cover crops, and it would be profitable for them to do so, besides the soil health initiative or advantages. So we believe we do need to have a motion on this to the effect that staff will supply comments to NRCS as to why we believe this policy shouldn't be in place and should allow mechanical harvest.
What's their reasoning? They're none.
Yeah, it's classified as speculative right now. There was some milling that there was a potential loophole that folks could say the main season's forage crop, like corn silage or sorghum Sudan silage or something, could be considered a cover crop, and then a federal or state program could be then paying for that main crop. That's certainly nothing none of the partners here would consider. And again, that brought me back to Dale Gates' really important comment that if there is a good reason to do it in a state, in a particular program, that's a great place to make that requirement in the program policy and not in the technical standard.
Good morning, everybody. This is Blake with Nrcs, and I'll just echo what Greg said there. And I appreciate the committee bringing this up today, along with supporting the avenue in which you guys are going to move forward with trying to change the way this is written currently. A lot of times these standards and specs or the practice standards are kind of geared towards Midwest, where they may be putting wheat or rye in with their cover crops, not so much using it for forage or dairy purposes. And so that's just the education that we need to make sure that is reaching our national headquarters. And I'll do my job on my end, and you guys do your job, and we can meet in the middle, and hopefully we can address this. But I appreciate that, and I'll just end with this: there are 23 standards that are open right now that can require comments from you guys. April 8th is the deadline to submit any actions on these. So appreciate you guys taking a look at those, and appreciate Chastity putting that link in the comments, and so we can get some comments on all 23.
Brian, this is Tim Sweeney. Would this be something we'd want to see if NASDA would engage in?
As a good point, Tim. Actually did plan to brief the commissioner on this, as certainly we've been discussing the value of double crops as well as cover crops through our climate council work, and I can certainly bring that to his attention as well, if they're not already engaged in it. I've seen correspondence from that organization on a number of issues like this in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're not already engaged.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
That would be excellent. I appreciate that as well. I will say that there may be a point in time in our lives where this is such a common practice and everybody's doing it. It doesn't make sense for, participation with government programs in this, because the market and the crop rotations of farming have built it in and it works. But we're not at that stage, and it's an excellent tool to start with basic cover crops, up our game with this type of cover crops. It often requires modifications to other parts of the crop rotation and management and harvest and feed storage and feeding. So I think it's still a prime area to work with farmers to help them, through the expensive adoption process.
Any other comments, anyone? Brian, you want the motion worded a certain way?
Yeah, actually, Dale, I was just thinking about that. The motion can direct staff to review all of the technical standards, focus on cover crop standard in this particular issue. But if you want to, through the motion, empower the staff to provide comments on all of them, or at least review all of them and comment on those that we feel most appropriate, we can do that.
Good. Somebody want to make a motion?
So move.
Second.
You know how you want to word it the way you want then?
Yeah, I think if I get a voting member to word it for us before we move it, I think that would be most appropriate.
All right. You want us to word it right now?
Yeah, at least the concepts of it, I can certainly.
All right. I'll make and then I'll word it, and then I'll Dave and Erica, if it's agreement to them, we move that examine the NRCS requirements to make comments on the ones appropriate, and to concentrate especially on the one with cover crops and mechanical harvest restrictions. Is that all right?
That'll do it.
Dave, Erica, what do you think?
I think it's good.
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next, Brian?
Okay, thank you, everybody. Next, we'll move to the Ag Non-Point Source Program report with Jason and Bethany.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, why don't you go ahead and we can talk about our dashboard here first.
Yeah, sure. I'll give everyone the program status update of Ag Non-Point Source. So to date, there's been 816 completed contracts, totaling $133,040,347. There are currently 161 active contracts for $56,636,952. One contract is still in a partial closeout state. We've had 35 complete or canceled contracts in the history of the program, and round 26 is now able to be accounted for in our pending category. It's not in the database yet, but we can account for it having 46 contracts at $14,960,232. And when all the plan of works for that round come in to our database, I will put together a more detailed summary of that round. I'm looking forward to that when they come in. So let me know if you have questions on this dashboard, and I'm looking forward to more data coming in. Thank you.
I'll just add one item regarding the dashboard. In the table at the bottom, there is one remaining round 20 contract that needs to be closed before we can, I guess, get rid of that line in our table. That contract, the closeout is in process with the district, so we're just waiting on it to be submitted to our office, which should be happening relatively soon. So then we'll be able to get that round completely closed up and off the table. I will also add a couple other notes regarding the status of round 26. As Jason mentioned, we were finally able to make awards on the round 26 projects. Round 26 of the Ag Point Source Program was originally announced and opened at the end of 2019. And then, you know, we were all hit with the COVID-19 pandemic, which, you know, caused some substantial delays in the process with which we kind of carry out the round. So awards were delayed significantly, and at the beginning of March, we were given the go-ahead to make awards on our projects. So as of March 2nd, 46 of the 110 projects that were submitted to round 26 were awarded. And we are currently in the process of developing the contracts for each of those projects and hope to get those executed as soon as possible. Just a couple of statistics to share with the group. So as we've awarded 46 projects for a total of approximately $14.9 million. Some worthy tidbits, I guess, from this round to mention. This is a record round for the implementation of cover crops. We awarded, or through round 26, we will be implementing approximately 38,000 acres of cover crops over the course of 3 years. So that's approximately 12,600 acres of cover crop, you know, each year for 3 years. We've also awarded 32 waste storage projects, and through this round of Ag Non-Point Source funding, we've awarded projects for the implementation of almost 19 acres of forested riparian buffer and approximately 24 acres of herbaceous buffers. So I thought those were really good numbers for this round and worth sharing for the group. Any questions about program status or round 26?
So just a comment, that's absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, the round 26, as well as CRF 5, were on hold for the months during COVID. And just a special thanks to the department as well for helping us to get the approval to make these awards, albeit later than we would have liked. But again, we're committed to awarding this round before moving forward to the next. So, you know, it was certainly a great to see that press release go out last week, and thanks to everybody involved in it.
So the next item, I believe, on the agenda to talk about regarding Ag Non-Point Source is a tentative timeline for round 27. Are we good to move on to that section?
Yep, I think so, Bethany.
Okay. So I have put together just one slide to kind of be a visual for this portion of the agenda. So for round 27, the funds initially appropriated for this round were approved in April of 2020. And if we were on a normal RFP release schedule, ideally the RFP for this round would have been announced in December of 2020. However, as we just discussed, given the delays that we experienced with round 26, we really wanted to make sure that awards were made on those projects first before even considering another round of funding. And now that that time has come, we are trying to figure out a way to catch up, because with all the delays that we experienced, our timeline has gotten a little bit behind. So what I have displayed on the screen here for you is a proposed timeline for round 27, and it is particularly aggressive, I would say, because if the committee supports this timeline, we would potentially be releasing the next round of Ag non-point source funding in May, and having applications be due back to the department in July of 2021. We would look to conduct scoring throughout August, potentially some into September. Ideally, we would have a ranked list to be discussed and approved at the state committee meeting in September, and we would be making an award in October. If we were to implement this timeline, we would then, to get us back on track with our, I guess, standard timelines and the way we would like to continue to roll out programs, we would then turn around and release round 28 at the end of this year in conjunction with the next round of CRF funding. We reached out to the Conservation District Employees Association just for initial comments on this potential timeline, but also wanted to bring it to the state committee for discussion today and approval to move forward, if appropriate.
Discussion, anyone on the timeline? It is aggressive, both for the districts and the staff at Albany to get a lot of work done in not as enough time. All right. If there's no discussion, could I get a motion to approve the timeline?
Not that I want to slow us down any, but I also want to point out that, certainly this program is scored by advisory members of this state committee, and understanding the time commitment for them as well. I'd like to just pause and get their reaction if they have one to this. This is something that we had to do during the recession. When we got approval to move forward with programs, we did put out 2 RFPs in 1 year, so there is some precedent to this, but certainly it is aggressive.
And this is Caitlin Stewart from the Conservation District Employees Association. We thank the state committee for reaching out to us to ask if this timeline seemed appropriate for districts, and comments from Chastity and our president Dustin Lewis will make it work, and we are very excited for this opportunity to see funding continue to roll into districts. So thank you.
This is Stephanie from Department of State as one of the reviewers. It is aggressive. I will agree with you on that, to be able to review all of the applications in that time frame. The other concern that I'll just throw out is that this very much aligns with our own release for LWRP through the CFA. Right now, this is going to be my check at the end of the meeting, but right now they are planning on releasing the CFA in May. I mean, things may change, but we've been told to move forward as if they would be released in May. So this kind of aligns with the same dates. So we would have staff that would need to be dedicated to both of these efforts to review. So I just put that out there, not that it's, you know, we can do what we need to do, but just put that out there as just a concern. You know, again, we'll do what we need to, but it is a aggressive and just with workload might be a little bit hard. So just to be honest.
Well, Caitlin and Stephanie, I appreciate your comments a lot, and certainly understand, you know, this will put an extra burden on districts in the field and our advisory members as well. But, you know, I also want to point out too, and it's been great, Stephanie, that you've had some staff support as well over the years. And, you know, we certainly would work with any advisory member agency who will need to parse out this workload, and, you know, we'll provide extra instruction to potential reviewers from those agencies. You know, understanding that, of course, in the month of August is always tough anyway with vacations and everything, but, you know, we certainly would work with every agency to make sure we can provide support in the effort.
Yeah, that would be great. And I have been lucky in the last several years to have additional staff help me. I remember the days when I did them all myself. So I am lucky to have some additional staff to help and any assistance in that you guys can provide to other agencies as well to help spread the review would be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, anyone? Motion to approve the timeline, please. Second?
Second.
We'll go to voting. Aaron?
Aye.
Hey. Erica?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Anything else on 27 at this time?
I am all set with that. I'll just mention, I sent out an initial save the date for our next technical advisory committee meeting, which is scheduled for, I believe, April 19th. And so at that meeting, we'll be discussing round 27 and the RFP. And then at the next state committee meeting, which would be the following day, we'll have the round 27 RFP available for discussion and approval.
Good. Amendments?
Thank you for that, Bethany. Just one more word on that, Dale. You know, we're approving timelines today, so there's no real conflict of interest for our district guests and everyone here today. But in April, when we do get into the RFP and the policy discussions, if we're still in WebEx, we'll have to figure out to do it either before, at the beginning or at the end. But at that point, you know, we'll only be able to have the District Employees Association representatives with us during that discussion following the ethics ruling from early 2000s, just as a reminder to everybody.
Good. Amendments?
So I only have one amendment just to bring to the state committee today for your information. This is a staff approved amendment, so I do not need a vote or approval today from the voting members. But we did receive a landowner change amendment from Clinton County for a round 25 project. They had a farm in their original contract that has since changed ownership, and the new owners are still committed to implementing the same BMPs that were applied for the project is still going in the same watershed, and the new landowner is committed and has signed a new commitment letter to implement the project in the current time frame. And this amendment was approved by Ryan Cunningham, the Region 4 AEA. So just to bring that up. Any questions on that one?
Thank you, Bethany. Is there anything else on Ag non-point source?
I do not have anything further at this time.
We will move on to the CRF program. Jason and Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with the dashboard and I'll pass it off to Jennifer. So to date for CRF, there have been 44 completed contracts for, 14 completed contracts for a total of 1.4 million. There are 56 active contracts for 5.8 million, and 44 are in the pending column due to round 5, the upcoming round of CRF, which same with Ag non-point. I'll put together a dashboard for that, a summary dashboard of BMPs and funding and the like for there. There have been 3 cancellations in the history of the program, and that's it for the dashboard for CRF. There's been no change from last month besides the new pending of round 5.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Thank you, Jason. This is Jennifer Clifford. And as Jason had mentioned, with round 5, we did have, we were able to make awards, and we have also completed the Plan of Work webinar. So Plan of Work is underway with the 22 districts that were awarded CRF funding. So those will be due in at the end of April, and that round is proceeding now as usual. But today I wanted to focus a little more on future the next round of funding for CRF. And I'm just going to share a PowerPoint I have here to show you what we're going to be talking about. So this is for round 6. This is a funding and timeline proposal. So round 6, we have available funding from the state fiscal year 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022. So that's 4.5 million. That was in the 2020, 2021 budget. That would be 4.3 million for CRF, and 200,000 is set aside for Cornell Soil Health. That involves a lot of outreach and education and things that are really helping progress soil health across the state. And then in the 21-22 budget, there was 4.5 million for CRF, and again, 200,000 set aside for Cornell Soil Health. So adding up just the CRF grant funding available, that would leave us with 8.8 million. So round 6, if we combine those 2 funding years or budget years, we could present a $8 million CRF grant round 6 and have 800,000 available to do a few pilot projects under CRF. Something pilot projects would be along the lines of developing some planning carbon farm plan, which is something that we've been talking about, and tool development for helping develop those plans under AIM and or some greenhouse gas quantification tool development. Those would be something that we would plan out at a later date. So round 6 would just be 8 million available for grants. And on this chart here, it shows what was requested for round 5 in the 3 tracks that we currently have for CRF, and then what was subsequently awarded under round 5. So we had 5.9 million requested, and we awarded 4 million. And the track, the amount that we set aside per track is something that we discuss at the TAC level and then bring forward to the state committee for approval. So that would be a discussion that we would, again, have it at a later meeting. So the timeline for round 6 would mirror the timeline that we did have for round 5. We would review and approve the RFP for round 6 in October of this year, and then release the RFP in December of 2021. And that would align with Agnon Point Source's round 28. Applications would be due in February of 2022, with application review occurring in March. The ranked list would be presented to the state committee in April, and then the release of awards and then plan of work and contract development would happen from April to July. So what we are requesting a consideration and a vote on today would be the approval to move forward with combining funding years to do a $8 million round 6. And that would still be pending approval through OSC to also do that.
I think it's a sound proposal in my view. I'd like to hear from district people with the additional for this one round. By the combining the 2 to 8 million, will the districts be putting forth more requests because it's about 2 million higher than the last round 5 requested? What do the district people think?
Hi, this is Caitlin. If Chastity can chime in, that would be wonderful. I am, as the new Vice President, I am unfamiliar with CRF, and this is something that our district here in Hamilton County does not apply for. Chastity may have some better insight than me.
I do think, this is Chaz, I do think that it's a great opportunity to see if we can get some more projects, and I do think that any opportunity to move forward and enhance a program is good. So yeah, I don't see an issue with it. I think we need to do it. So.
Other comments on that, anyone?
Yeah, Dale, I'll just add that our approach here, given the fact that we have about $4 million annually available for a competitive RFP, seems to make more sense to combine them rather than to go out with a timeline like Bethany just proposed and was approved by the committee, where there was about $15 million annually. So, by the time we roll out this round 6, we would be doing so in connection or combination with Agnon Point Source round 28. So that will get us essentially back on track. And my only concerns, and I think we can address this, is, we didn't quite have $8 million in demand last round. We certainly had our highest level of demand in round 5. But if we put an $8 million RFP out, districts will play up to that, like playing up to your competition. If they see 8 million, I think there might be a little bit more focus and attention, and certainly we will do our part to make sure folks know what's available. And, I think that also makes it easier then to continue to advocate for additional funding moving forward if we're able to show the demand can be there for this level.
I think to add to what you just said, Brian, also this is Chaz, is I think that we are having this initiative to move forward on greener carbon projects, and they're starting to get more highlight, and people are asking for them. So putting them together and adding more to it, I think you're going to see an increase whether you add it or not. So go for it.
Good. Yeah, it's my only concern is coming in under the 8 million on requests, and that sounds like it won't happen. It's I hate to have a precedent set where we're not getting enough requests to use the money. I don't like turning people down, but I'd rather always have requests higher than the amount of money available.
Hi, Dale. This is Lindsay Gerstenslager from Wayne County.
Mm-hmm.
We'll rise to that occasion, I think. I mean, I know we've been looking at, just in the pandemic times, we've been having a lot more farms ask for, especially with the drought as well, and going into a dry year like we're looking at so far with forecasting. I think you're going to see a lot larger projects. Also, keep in mind that 8 million isn't going to go as far as it used to. So
no.
I think you're going to see higher, we're already seeing higher costs in some of the quotes that we're doing this spring already. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity, as Chaz indicated, Brian indicated. I think districts always rise to the occasion. We'll keep on trucking.
Excellent. Anyone else comment? Can I get a motion, please?
Moved. So moved.
Second? Moved and seconded to approve the combination of the two rounds in the $1.8 million round. We'll move to voting. Darren? Dave?
Yeah.
Erica?
Aye. Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Oh, what do we got next?
Thank you very much.
Yep. You got
Jennifer,
any
you don't
amendments?
have any amendments today, right? Sorry to interrupt you, Dale.
Thank you for asking. I do not have any amendments. That's all I have for
Okay.
Kira.
All right, good.
State aid to districts, Dale?
Yeah, my phone screwed up on me for a second.
Okay, no worries.
Ben, you want to start with state aid to districts?
Sure. Thanks, Dale. Just going to go over quick kind of what we found for 2020 in time of the pandemic. Go over a little bit of what Part A, B, and C looks like, and just kind of after analyzing the performance measures this year from all the districts of what I found based on the numbers that were submitted. So all the annual reports from the districts were due February 15th. Each district submits 7 reports and a couple claim for payment vouchers to us for parts A and C. For that $10.5 million, that's split up between parts A, B, and C. So starting with A, which is eligible expenditures, there's little over 3.7 million that goes towards eligible expenditures. Districts are eligible for reimbursement up to 50% of the amount expended by the districts, up to $60,000 per year. State aid or Part A is awarded to New York City at a 5-fold because it's made up of 5 different counties, so they are eligible for $300,000. The funds can be reimbursed for the employment of conservation field technicians and district managers, a purchase of supplies and equipment related to those positions, and for supervising or providing technical assistance for the implementation of soil and water conservation practices. So after looking at the Part A reports for 2020, 57 of the 58 districts qualified for the full reimbursement amount, which is about normal. Usually there's 1 or 2 that don't quite hit the mark. Sometimes all of them do. It just kind of varies a little bit from year to year. But those remaining funds from that district that didn't earn all the funds are then shifted down to Part C, and then they're distributed out to the districts from there. Moving on to Part B. Part B is the $6,000 for the conservation project financial assistance. So across the state, $372,000 is awarded to the districts for this. They get to pick one of 16 categories that their project for the year would fall into. If they find the need to change their project throughout the year, they can do so by resubmitting a request to myself. And then they can change that anytime right up to the end of the year till December 31st. If something didn't quite go right with the first project. I have not analyzed those reports yet that were submitted in February. Traditionally, the Part B reports are the last ones to be reviewed. Usually that's not till end of April, early May. So I'll be reporting more on that in the future when we get to those. But for now, I haven't got to those yet. And any districts that did not complete a project or did not spend the full $6,000, then they would have to submit a check back to the state to reimburse for those funds that weren't spent. And again, that money would be rolled right over to the following year and would end up in the Part C pot of money. So moving on to Part C, which is performance measures financial assistance activity. So any money that's remaining after Part A and B are paid out, the rest of it goes to Part C. So that's a little over $6.4 million across the state. Obviously, there's been big increases the last few years in the budget, and all that money has ended up in Part C, which has also had a lot of increased flexibility. Districts are now allowed to carry over the funds. They don't have to return any unspent funds, which I think has really helped this year with COVID. So with the COVID modifications, when COVID hit, if you remember back in April, we went through the normal performance measure requirements. We made some adjustments to most all of the requirements for performance measures, knowing that districts may not have the ability to complete all the normal requirements. We really didn't want them to be negatively affected by circumstances that were beyond their control. So that being said, after we made those modifications and I went through all the reports that were submitted in February, all the districts in the state did qualify for the full reimbursement, which was great to see. Everybody was able to get the full amount, which this year was a little over $112,000 per district. I'm going to move on just to what I did is after kind of analyzing against all the reports against those revised COVID measures, I went back and I took a look at those reports versus what they would have been pre-COVID. So we'll just say the normal requirements of like 2019 and prior. I kind of looked at them knowing that there could be districts out there that only submitted the minimum amount on the report just to meet the requirements. There could have also been a few that, maybe they didn't put in the normal effort to complete all their meetings or something just because they knew they didn't have to. But I think those were very few and far between, especially from what I could tell, because there was so much information that still was submitted on the reports. Districts did definitely fall shy in certain measures, certain questions, but it looked like they always put the effort there for the most part. There was always something there, even if they didn't quite meet what would have been the full performance measures of the past before COVID. So what I found was for performance measures 1, which was board meetings, trainings of board members and employees, the annual audits, policies, that sort of stuff. There would have been 29 districts that did not meet that performance measure out of the 57 that complete performance measures Part C. Performance measure 1 is made up of 7 questions, and really I guess I'll call them shortfalls of districts of not meeting performance measures 1 came from 5 of those 7 questions. So there was still 2 questions that on policies and the annual audits that all the districts still met those. But the other 5 questions, like I said, board meetings, trainings, annual meetings, that sort of stuff. Those 29 districts were spread across all 5 of those questions. So there was really no one thing that would have knocked any of those districts off from meeting that performance measure. And there was only a few districts that didn't meet multiple questions. You know, most districts only did not meet like one question. So the effort was definitely there. With performance measure 1, we reduced that down to 0% for this year, so there was no penalty for not meeting that performance measure. Moving on to performance measure 2, that's made up of 3 questions. The third question is about submitting the annual plan of works. All the districts submitted their annual plan of works on time. The other 2 questions are on presentations, reports, and publications, and outreach events and education. We combined those two questions into one this year to make it easier for districts to meet it, and obviously they all did. But looking at them as separate questions, question 2A, which is presentations, reports, and publications, on a normal year, there would have been 16 districts that did not meet that question. Looking back at past years of data, normally 54% of the districts check at least 10 items on that list. There's 16 items on that list, and 54% of districts normally check 10 or more of those items. And this year, that number went down to 28% only checked 10 or more. So it was almost cut in half of how many were really, you know, kind of going above and beyond on that category. When it came to 2B, public education and outreach, this is probably the biggest number. 44 districts out of the 57 would not have met that question. Again, it looks like districts tried. There was only a couple districts that only checked like 0, 1, or 2 of the boxes out of, we required 3 or more. Normally it's 5 items need to be checked out of the 18 that are on that list. So it really looked like districts were trying to complete it. But again, looking back at past data, there was only, normally there's at least 12 districts that complete 10 or more of those education and outreach activities. And this year there was only 2 in the entire state that completed 10 or more of those outreach and education activities. So there was definitely an effect here, which I think is what we thought would probably be the biggest issue looking at COVID from the beginning, even though districts were still able to do so much virtually that they were still definitely affected in that realm. Performance measures 3, which is using the funding to leverage additional funds from local, federal, and private sources and demonstrating the ability to foster partnerships. It's made up of 7 questions. Normally, districts have to answer 3 of those. We reduced it down to 2 for this year. Only 2 districts would not have met this performance measure based on the normal requirement. So districts were still doing 3+ activities that met this performance measures, which was really good. That was a great number to see. PM4, which is State Natural Resource Conservation Programs. This is where we took a lot of the money, the percentages from like PM1 and PM5 that we reduced to 0, and we put them into PM4, basically because we figured, you know, programs were still active, even if, you know, the state committee and other organizations weren't releasing new programs. There was a lot of active ones that had already started in the beginning of 2020 before COVID hit. So we felt like this measure was probably going to be fairly easy for districts to still meet that. And overall, we were correct, because normally districts have to check 5 out of the 24 programs that are on the list. Every one of the districts met the normal requirement. Most districts still completed 8 or 9 of those program activities. And it does vary throughout the state. We think of a lot of districts completing more of the ag type programs, a lot of the ones that come out of our office. But then especially when you get to some more concentrated population areas and downstate, they focus a lot more on the DEC programs that are listed as part of that question. But they were still able to complete many of those programs that they normally do, which was good to see. That being said, some of those that were completed in those downstate areas were only completed because they were able to start that work in, say, January, February, and early March. And then a lot of it was shut down for the rest of the year. So that was good that they could get started early. Otherwise, they possibly would not have still met that performance measure. And to wrap up this performance measure 5, which is partnerships with local governments and non-government organizations, again, that went to 0% for 2020. So there was no money tied to it, but still only 5 districts would not have met that performance measure. The rest of the state still filled out all 3 questions, were able to list the partnerships that they were still working on during COVID. And that was great to see what districts were still able to do. But as I said, there was definitely some effects, some changes from normal that I think really justified the fact that we made those changes after the pandemic hit. So that was really good. But, so the final bullet here on the agenda is just it says discussions on 2021 performance measures. So we had already put out the 2021 performance measures worksheet a few months back. I think it was maybe early February we put that out. And it has the same COVID requirements on it is what we kind of talked about in-house. We definitely reached out to districts. We got feedback from districts all along saying, thank you for making these changes. It really, made the year go a lot more smoothly, trying not to have to do the normal work and stress about it on top of the additional projects and kind of headaches that were going on during COVID. And again, when we kind of had to put this 2020 performance measure worksheet out, obviously all these reports for the performance measures weren't in, so we couldn't really use that data to really even make a decision just because of that delay for a couple months at the beginning of the year. But we wanted to be able to get that worksheet out so that districts could use it and move forward for 2021 and know what is expected of them. And knowing how COVID has still been in everybody's faces, and probably will be for a bit longer, we didn't know exactly how it was going to affect districts, for the whole year, half of the year, quarter of the year. So we kind of felt like to keep the measures the same, to keep those same COVID measures for 2021 was probably the right way to go. And we'll look at having the discussions on modifying things, changing them back to the way they were for 2022. That's about what I have. If Brian, you have anything to add, or anybody has any questions?
Just thank you so much, Ben, for that thorough analysis. And out of all that, I think the take home that I kept hearing was, the state committee made the absolute right decision early in the pandemic in 2020, and to continue that decision at least through 2021, again, will not unfairly financially impact conservation districts, as we're still very much stressed to meet many of the performance measures, certainly performance measure 1. That would have been a record number of districts not meeting that particular performance measure, and that is hard even in good years, to get board members out to meetings and annual trainings, and again, a lot of decisions were being made at the time, and just thank you to the committee, to your leadership, to making as necessary changes to a district aid program, which by law and by regulation doesn't give us a lot of flexibility, but what it does give is setting the actual performance measure percentages and setting the individual specific questions accordingly. So beyond that, the reg takes over. So I think, the committee made a really good decision early in 2020 in order to maximize districts' ability to meet performance measures when they were already challenged from a COVID perspective and already starting to be challenged from a financial one as well, with many county appropriations starting to decrease mid-year. So we wanted to put that information out in front of you, and there will be more to come. We certainly will plan to write up a host of accomplishments, notwithstanding the performance measures for this year. Districts, by all accounts, really continue to accelerate programs and get out there when it was safe to do so and do field work. And, that is a big success story from 2020, and we certainly will continue to talk about that. But Ben, thank you for that analysis, and sorry to take so much of the mic time up here, and certainly if anybody else has any comments or questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Brian, that we'd even be by 2022 back to a position where we can go back to where we were. I think it'll take a few years to get modified back into, we'll see how life returns to normal or not. Any other questions, discussion on it, anyone?
This is Caitlin from CDEA. I want to thank the state committee very much for revising our performance measures that really allowed us to excel in the face of this pandemic. It wasn't easy, and personally, I know that our district has reached out to our AEA, Ryan Cunningham, who has been phenomenal. So thank you for your continued support and for recognizing the struggles that districts are going through and for adjusting the performance measures. And Ben's report was full of great information, and it was really exciting to see all of the great work that districts got done despite the pandemic. So thank you to the state committee.
Really appreciate that, Caitlin. Thank you. And thank you to the Employees Association as well. As we had many huddles before we presented the performance measure revisions to the committee back, I believe it was March or April of 2020. So, certainly a great partnership and leadership, the Employees Association as well.
I agree. If nothing else on that, we will move on to the voting staff. I have nothing. Darren, do you have anything?
I don't believe that I do.
Dave? Still there, Dave? Erica?
Nothing to report here. Okay.
Excellent. Brian, you want to start with everyone else?
For sure. Ag and Markets, Tim Sweeney.
I'm all set, Brian. Thanks.
Thank you. EDEA, Caitlin, Chaz?
Hey, this is Chaz. Caitlin and I agreed I would do it today. We had a great water quality symposium week before last. We had over 250 people signed up. The largest class we had 100 attendees. We did pretty well, I feel like, with technology. First day we had a couple hiccups, but they were worked out by the second day. We had our annual meeting on Tuesday of that week with our awards, which I thought went well, considering it was all on Zoom. A huge thank you to everyone who attended and took the time. It's hard to believe the amount of work that goes into planning all of the tracks and getting everything together. So a huge thank you. We are, as you noticed today, Caitlin is now our new vice president. Dustin is our new president. Our secretary is from Madison County, and I have shifted to treasurer. So you don't get rid of me completely yet. But we've had a shift, and it's a great team, and I'm looking forward to a new year with lots of great information. And pretty soon we'll start plan and conservation skills workshop. So any questions for me?
Not a question, but a comment as in the Employee Association team. From my perspective, yeah, the Water Quality Symposium went off without a hitch. Whatever hiccups you guys had early on, I think only you guys were frantic about it. Nobody else could tell. So really, really well done. And certainly very different, but yet in some ways kind of also felt a little bit the same and a little bit normal in some ways. But thank you. And thank you to the award nomination committee for recognizing Greg Albrecht's contribution to the Conservation Partnership and receipt of the Conservation Partnership Appreciation Award. So just wanted to make that announcement to this group as well. Really, really well done. Thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Greg. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chaz. Brian.
All right. Chaz, anything else?
Nope, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks so much. DEC.
Hi, Brian. This is Sarah. I don't have anything.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, Brian. Yes, I just wanted to say that the agreement MOU we were looking for, that is already upstairs and being processed by the Division of Budget for the New York State DEC, AMOU 10154. So as soon as it's ready, I will let you guys know. But we have already pushed. I don't have any other things.
Okay. Julie.
Yep. I just wanted to say that Asim and I just finished up our annual non-point source report, so that should be coming out soon. I worked with a couple of counties on getting some information and some project highlights, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'll make sure to send it around.
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations. Yep, certainly we'll send it around when it's ready. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Julie.
All right. Anything else, DEC? Okay, DOH.
Hi, this is Paul. I don't have anything to report. Maybe Morgan does, but I just wanted to say thank you to Chaz for the great work that she did this past year. I know everybody else thanked her last meeting, but for me, it's really invaluable to have someone who's eloquent, stating what the views of the districts are for on the ground work, because sort of sitting in my ivory tower right now at home in Brunswick, I don't get out in the field that much. If I do, it's on the New York City Watershed, which is kind of a different game down there. So I want to thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, Paul.
Hi, this is Morgan with State Health. I don't have anything to add.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Morgan. Department of State, Stephanie. You already gave your report, but I'll let you have another shot at it.
Thanks. Yeah, as I mentioned, we are planning on, we're working towards release of the LWRP funds through the CFA. We've gotten notice that, the plan is for that to be released in early May. Of course, things can change. We need to get all of our approvals, but we are planning on hopefully going out for a larger pot this year to include both the 2021 and the 21-22 budget amount. So it's hopefully going to be a larger pot, and we are going to be focusing quite a bit on implementation this year. We usually focus quite a bit on planning this year to get things on the ground because we didn't have a award last year. We'll be focusing more on implementation. So stand by for that in terms of, and related to this, the watershed planning and watershed implementation projects are eligible. And then we are putting the final touches, hopefully, on a press release to go out related to the St. Lawrence watershed plan. So another shout out to Chaz and all her work related to that and getting that completed, and just the support of all of the soil and water conservation districts in the St. Lawrence watershed and pulling together a great plan. So hopefully we'll have a press release to go out related to that soon. And that's it. That's what I've got.
No, that's great. That's great, Stephanie. Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to coordinate on that press release. So you're telling me that you're also going to be trying to get approval for putting out 2 program years in one?
Yeah. Yep. So it'll
right.
be 27 million in one round.
Wow. Okay.
That's what our hope is. We'll wait to see whether or not we get that approval, but that's what we're trying for.
Hey, Jennifer, let's hurry up and get our request in for CRF before that one goes in the division of budget. No, I appreciate that. No, that's great. And I know it's not your program, and certainly you do have CEC friends online as well, but the CFA usually also includes the Water Quality Improvement Program as well. Is that my understanding? WQIP
Yep.
goes out with that?
Says WQIP goes out with that. Parks also has a round goes out with that as well, along with some other probably unrelated programs, but yep.
Should we go back to the beginning of our agenda, Dale, and rediscuss our plans for a timeline, given that good news as well for Conservation District?
It's up to you. What do you think?
No, that was a joke. I was kidding.
You're gonna have a hard press to get it done.
Figure it out, right? Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. Great report. Appreciate that.
Problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, Cornell Cal.
All set here, Brian. Thanks.
Thank you. I did see Beth joined us. Beth Claypool, Cornell Cooperative Extension. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I just put in the chat box the 2 links. The dairy manure cover flare-off system video has been posted, and there's resources and a connection between the Pro Dairy Manure Management website and then the CAL's Nutrient Management website. So I put those 2 links in there, and there's resources there too. And Jennifer or Greg, if you have any other resources that you want linked, just let me know. For folks, for folks to share, especially when light of the round 6 stuff coming out, that would help support that.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that, Beth. Really, that will be helpful. And just from last month's meeting, I started to go through the links in the chat box and make sure those were included in the minutes for folks as well, since we do have the recording of the chat. Really appreciate that. Okay, Steve Shaw, ESF.
Hi, Brian. Nope, I don't have anything today. Thanks, though.
Thank you. Steve, I will just tell you as well, we can have this discussion offline for more details, but we will be, we're working with New York Power Authority on that MOU between the agency and between the department and NYPA, so more to come on the canal project.
That's good news. Yeah, I keep hearing parts of that, but not the whole story. So
that wasn't the whole either, but yeah, we'll get in touch.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, NRCS, Blake.
All right, thanks, Brian. A couple things. As of Monday, our offices went to 50% capacity. We were at 25% within our offices, so that's welcome news for NRCS on that front. Look forward to more information on that as we move forward. In the Northeast, the area conservationists, I selected Jim Polano, who has been with the agency for over 25 years and brings on some experience there that is really welcomed in the Northeast and looking to build some partnerships as well. So his start date is March 28th, which is next week. So we look forward to Jim hopping on board and being the leader in the Northeast and taking over from Bruce Hopkins, who retired last summer. The other thing I have is we're having a second sign up for urban ag. We increased the area in which that entails now to try to address some of our interest from small acreage farmers that obviously distribute or sell to urban areas, but we're outside of the general urban areas that we originally identified. So we increased the area and look forward to having some additional applications for that. There's a total of $600,000 that we identified for that. The deadline is April 16th for any applications under the Urban Ag Initiative. And the last thing I have, guys, is the Nrcs across the nation was allocated 1,570 positions to go to a new direct hire type of program to where we can hire directly off the street, just receiving a resume along with transcript, and we can hire folks that way for entry-level positions. New York received 18 total positions to be able to do this, to increase our staffing levels here in New York. And so we're looking forward to that. So if you please pass on along the word that there are 18 positions, 3 engineer positions, and 15 SOLCON positions. So anybody in the natural resource field, recent graduates or graduates this coming May are eligible to apply for these positions. So please get the word out and look forward to any of that. And if there's any interest in it, folks can send their resume and transcript to me, and I'll make sure that we can have that conversation and start to move some of these folks forward into the workforce, whether they work for NRCS or district or state agencies. As long as they're in conservation, that's really all I care about at the end of the day. So with that, thank you, Brian. Thank you to the committee for having me, and look forward to seeing everybody down the road and face to face at some point.
Thank you, Blake. Urban Ag, you said April 7th?
April 16th.
16th. Wow, I totally misheard that. Okay, thank you.
You never listen to me, Brian.
No, I know. I trying so hard. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I know.
All right. Scott Ryan from NYACD, do you have anything to report?
Well, just that we're keeping an eye on that bill that was reintroduced in the Assembly about the Class C stream permit requirements. We're hoping that doesn't go very far again.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just as a reminder, that was a bill that passed both houses last session, I believe, that would have given stream protections for all Class C streams. It was vetoed by the governor last year. And yes, I understand it's been reintroduced. Appreciate that. And Scott, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And just to prelude next month's big announcement, Scott Ryan will be joining us as our 5th voting member from NYACD. So really looking forward to that, Scott, and you joining the team as a voting member.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next I'm not going to call an individual staff from the committee. if I hear two people take their phones off mute at the same time, I'll be listening and pick one. But if there's anybody from the state committee staff that have a report to give, now is the time.
Brian, this is Greg. I have a couple of AIM-related news items to share if time.
Great, thank you.
To dovetail with the timeline discussions with Ag Point Source with Bethany and CRF with Jennifer, just a thumbnail sketch of the AIM round 17 timeline. We're going to be bringing the draft program and contract policy, sort of the instruction manual for an AIM-based round to the Technical Advisory Committee in April, and then introducing the further revisions to that to the state committee and for eventual voting on the framework for AIM round 17 in early summer by the state committee, and then availability in middle summer for districts to use to start assembling their action plans. And AIM 17 will sort of broad strokes look very similar to AIM 16. It'll be a 2-year program. There'll be 2 tracks that districts can participate in, one to support technical assistance work by district staff, and the other a modestly sized cost share program that's non-competitive. And the deadline for those action plans for AIM 17 would be the same or similar as last time in early November of 2021 here. So if you're recalling those 2 timeline slides from Ag Point Source and CRF, that does mesh pretty well in that we're not directly overlapping with due dates. So to try to give a little bit of as much space as we can in this compressed year. And like I said, that'll be a 2-year program like we've piloted here in 16. That'll run 2022 and 2023. And we've attempted to take notes from all of our staff and that we've received in what we've learned so far in AIM 16, and those will be in consideration when we're putting an improved version of what we started a couple of years ago up for round 17. If anybody has any questions or comments about that, please feel free to email me or give me a phone call because we're in active development of that now as a staff.
Thank you, Greg, for that.
The second topic is for everybody, but especially and specifically for districts. Judy Luttrell sent a reminder email out to all the districts about the AIM Leopold Conservation Award, the second year of that. The deadline for applications is coming up quickly on April 1st. So if you're a district or know somebody who's in a district, definitely check out Judy's email from this morning and all the details there. And let's get some good applicants in there, which should be really easy to do because we're talking about New York State Agriculture, districts, and AEM. And we certainly accomplished that goal with all of the applicants and the awarded farm last year. So looking forward to that. Please check your email April 1st. And that's all I had, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for that reminder. Definitely, and there were numerous applications submitted last year as well. They were all excellent. So certainly, if anybody's listening who submitted an application last year that did not win, please consider reconsider applying because there's a lot of really great deserving farms out there that are exemplifying conservation. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Greg. Anyone else on the staff?
Hey, this is Jason. I'll update everyone quick on the increasing cover crop adoption project we've been doing. I wanted to let everyone on the line know that the results of the survey that we did are posted on the district SharePoint page in the quick link section. So if you guys want to check out the summary of all the answers. It's on there in an interactive PDF where you can click on different sections and jump to questions that you'd like to jump to. And then yesterday we reached out to some districts who have a big cover crop program or want to grow their program, about talking to them about some ideas they put forward in the survey in their longer answer questions. So we're going to have like a virtual workshop coming up in April with enough time to bring ideas that we all put together to the TAC meeting and then to the state committee meeting the next day. So that project's ongoing and a lot of fun. So we'll update everyone next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Excellent. As you all can hear, we're going to be pretty busy in the month of April and moving things forward. Really appreciate, Jason, your leadership on the cover crop survey and with this virtual workshop. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Jason, another thing too, I was wondering if we could also quickly plug the GIS Storyboard. And knowing that this is the time of year where districts are doing annual reports and putting out really excellent publications. So if any district is doing that and would like to even just point to a project in any of the annual reports, we can work together to get that project demonstrated and shown on the GIS Storyboard.
Yes, there is in the same quick link section an update. It might help to organize thoughts, but if you just want to reach out to, just shoot us an email. Thank you, Brian, and everybody.
It does. It lives on, Julie. It lives on. All right. Any other staff have anything to report? All right, well, I guess that was long enough pause. I will just quickly report out on the progress of the Agriculture and Forestry Advisory Panel, which is a panel made up of ag and forestry related experts from the Climate Action Council, or appointed by the Climate Action Council. We had our 10th advisory panel meeting on March 16th that focused on forestry, avoided conversions, and bioeconomy related recommendations or strategies. And that work, combined with the agricultural related strategies that I presented at the last meeting, or at least the draft of those strategies, have been put together for what will be going to the Climate Action Council in advance of the April meeting. Commissioner Ball will be presenting out on our work and answering questions from the Climate Action Council. So that effort has certainly continued to move forward, and looking forward to hearing the Climate Action Council's reaction to our work. If accepted by the council, then would become the structure for the ag and forestry sections in the state scoping plan. So stay tuned, and I'll continue to keep the committee apprised of progress moving forward. With that, Dale, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brian. Next meeting, you've got down proposed April 20th. What do the voting members think?
That works for me, Dale.
Darren?
I'm looking here. April 20th, you said?
April 20th.
I mean, right now it's open, but we'll be starting to get busy. You know, I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Dave.
I'm not sure. I got to look at home, and I got pre-surgery scheduled the 1st of April, so I don't know if I'm going to surgery then or not. But
Okay.
I will, if I do when I get out of the hospital, I will be here.
Why don't we?
That's the best I can tell you. Best I can tell you right now, they haven't scheduled it yet, so
Yeah.
they get done in pre-surgery.
Yeah.
pre-op, so.
Does that work for Scott?
I'll make it work. Whatever day.
Okay. You'll have enough for voting then.
We will. And Darren and Dave, if you just can get back to me with your availability either way, I appreciate that.
Okay. Will do, Brian.
I really won't know until that day.
I won't know, I won't know until they start the pre-op stuff. They don't start till the first, so.
Well, if you
Sounds
two
good.
can,
Well, we'll definitely confirm.
yeah, keep Brian appraised of what your schedule looks like. And if we have it, we'll go anyway. Though with the 30. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? Well, I appreciate everybody participating today. And, meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you later. Enjoy that warm temperature.